What is up, bros and broettes? I'm Inkslasher, and yesterday a pretty massive patch was added in to Call of Duty World War II called Operation Shamrock Awe. Now, this one's interesting because it added a ton of new stuff. 2 new weapons, a new game mode, a new map which no one saw coming, and on top of that, a little bit of a patch to supply drops and weapons. We're going to go over all of that in this video as fast as possible to keep out all the bullshit, because I've seen a ton of videos going to crazy amounts of detail, more than what you really need to know. So to start things off, let's look at the new map and the new game mode. First things first, I've actually not played any of the new maps, game modes, or used any of the new weapons. I only have the stats from various sources on the internet. That being said, though, I did get some gameplay for you guys via YouTube. I'll leave links to the people's channels who it belongs to. Just go say thanks and that I used their content. I'm sure they'll enjoy the little shout out. But, so, the first new thing is Shipment 1944. This one's pretty self-explanatory. It's a World War II version of the famous map Shipment. This is one of the smallest Call of Duty maps of all time, and now it is in Call of Duty World War II. It is free with the Season Pass, which is pretty amazing. No one really saw them releasing a completely free map for everyone. Didn't come out with a map pack. It was just released, which is really awesome to see. The next new thing is Leprechaun Mosh Pit. Now, this is a new game mode that's a mix between Team Deathmatch, Hardpoint, Kill Confirmed, and Domination. Now, it's these exact same game modes, but there's hidden zombie leprechauns on the map. If you manage to find one and kill one of these zombie leprechauns, it actually gives you every single score streak you have equipped. So a pretty big advantage to those who find and kill these little leprechauns. And there's a little twist because they really aren't that easy to kill. The next thing we got is the 2 brand new weapons, the first of which is the MG81. Now, this is an LMG, and if I was to compare it to any other LMG in the game, it would be the Lewis. Basically, all this weapon is a worse version of the Lewis. The fire rate is around 490 to 500, which is pretty slow for most weapons in this game. On top of that, it's a 3-bullet kill from any range, which is nice, but it has a very slow fire rate. Also, on top of that, the aim down sights time is 300 milliseconds, which compared to the new aim down sights time on SMGs just really can't compete. So overall, this really isn't a great weapon, and if you're going to get one of the 2 new weapons, I would go with the second of which is called the M-38. Now, this is an SMG. If I was to compare this to a weapon, it's somewhere between the PPSH and the MP40. It's actually a pretty decent SMG. Is it the best SMG in the game? Absolutely not. That being said, there is some pretty good attributes to it. The first of which is its fire rate. It has a 700 RPM fire rate, which isn't as fast as the PPSH, but puts it right around the MP40, which I believe to be the second best, if not third best SMG in the game. Also, it's a 4 to a 6 bullet kill, which once again for SMGs is pretty average in Call of Duty World War II, and it has a fast aim down sights time of 160 milliseconds. So, overall, what do I think of these stats on this SMG? Basically, it's a worse version of the PPSH. It kind of has the same recoil pattern where it's mostly vertical, some side-to-side recoil, but overall, it's a very similar recoil pattern. The only downside to this weapon is it has no 3-bullet kill range, and on top of that, it doesn't have the fast fire rate of the PPSH or the larger magazine like the PPSH. So, I would put it somewhere around the MP40 of how good this weapon is. The big downside of this weapon, it has really ugly iron sights. But aside from that, it's a decent weapon, and definitely out of the 2 new weapons is better. The next big change to weapons in the game was the Volk Sturmgewehr. As I've talked in previous videos, I believe the Volk Sturmgewehr to be the best weapon by far in the game. Now, there was 2 nerfs that they added into this weapon. They nerfed the recoil, and they nerfed the range. The recoil nerf is next to nothing. With this weapon, you still really don't even need to use a grip, but if you would like to neglect the nerf and have it exactly the way it was before, you can just throw grip on there, and it's exactly the same it was before. The second change that they made was to the range, and the range was pretty largely nerfed, and the way they did it is they halved the previous range. So the previous 4-bullet kill range was halved. The 5-bullet kill range was half, and now there's also a 6-bullet kill range. The interesting thing about this, though, is once again, this patch can be completely neglected by simply putting advanced rifling on. So basically, all this patch did was make you have to use certain attachments for the weapon to be as good as it was before. So if you simply put on grip and advanced rifling, the weapon is exactly the same as it was pre-patch. The only thing you can't do is put on other attachments like high caliber, quick draw, maybe even a recon sight, something along those lines. It really makes you or forces you to use certain attachments. That's really what this patch did. And finally, the supply drop changes. Now, there's actually some pretty large changes that aren't fully in the game as of yet to supply drops, but some have been added, one of which is pistol grips. There is no more grips being added into the game. They're still there from the previous patches and the different grips that they added in, but no longer will they be adding them into the game. And on top of that, they're reducing the rate that they drop in supply drops, because if you're like me, that's pretty much the only thing you've gotten out of supply drops up until this date. That should be a lot less. They are also upping the rate of other things of higher value, which is nice to see. So we should be getting more high quality items, more weapon variants, that kind of thing. They're also adding new aesthetic items into the game that were not previously there. The main three things that this include are various reticles. They also include weapon camos, which were not previously in supply drops. Some of them that they added are looking pretty cool. And finally, weapon keychains. And I don't really love these. I didn't like them in Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Basically, they're little danglies that hang off your weapon. Pretty pointless if you ask me. They also announced that with every new event that they're having, they're going to be releasing more and more content. So more new weapons, more new camos, more new weapon danglies, all of that kind of thing, which is good and also bad because it's going to dilute the pool of various things that are in supply drops, like new weapons and that kind of thing, the things you actually want to get. That being said, they're also adding in more challenges. There's going to be new orders, new contracts for you to actually go ahead and complete them and unlock various weapon variants and maybe even weapons in the future, which is really cool. I like the whole completing challenge to unlock weapons, to unlock weapon variants. So that is going to be added into the game soon, along with they announced more special contracts like they've done previously. So a lot of really great things added into the game. I've kind of summed it up into a quick little video. If you have any questions about anything I said in this video, just ask down in the comments. I'll try to respond to anyone asking questions. But if you enjoyed the video, it would be awesome if you could hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.
We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this too hard, and I want